welcome back to the End of the Fourth Football Podcast, part of the Let's Talk Sports Network. I am your host, B-Hizzy, aka Brendan Hurst, and I'm joined as always by the fantastic Prez, The Prez, aka Chris Mullaney. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing all right, mate. Doing all right.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So week 3 is here. But first we have some business to attend to. We need to address the standings from last week. So I went in the pick'em, so it's all 16 games. I went 7-9, as did the guests. Chris, you had a good week. You went 10-6.
Tell you,
That's a good result.
That's all down to Monday night,
That's
and
it.
you know, Arizona as well.
On the scorching 6, though, not so much. The guests and I both went 3-3. You went 1-5.
That's all right.
And then the locks, I went 0-1, and you and the guests both got their locks correct. You looked at the Eagles, wasn't it?
Yes, because Kirk was on a Monday night.
That's right, yeah. And our guest looked at the Buccaneers. So
there you go.
So that puts the all-time standings so far through 2 weeks as the pick'em. Chris, you're in the lead. You've got 17, 14, and 1. I'm kind of just behind you, 14, 15, and 1. And the guests are 13, 18, and 1. I think that math checks there. Unless I'm being a muppet. So what were they? 7 and 9. Yeah, that's right. I'm not being a muppet. That's fine.
You work in a shop with, a till that does all the maths.
Right, it tells me the change. So it's okay. Me and the guests are both 4-8 on Scorching 6. Chris, you are 3-9. I'm 0-2 on locks, which is not good. You're 1-1, and the guests are 2-0. So still plenty to play for. Still a long season to go, and hopefully we get to the point soon where Excel no longer considers these records as dates. I don't think it does anymore, so I don't have to mess around with it much. Okay, we're all good. So let's get into it then. Let's get some notes.
Let's go.
Up, wherever they are, here we are. So, first game on the slate this week is Steelers at Browns on Thursday Night Football. Both these teams coming off a tough week 2 loss. What's your thoughts?
This is going to sound really strange. It's not one I'm looking forward to. And it's no disrespect to the two quarterbacks playing. If it had been Watson against Roethlisberger or my friend Kenny Pickett, I'd be looking dead forward to this. You know how high I am on Kenny Pickett. I just don't. That tonight could be very interesting because the first quarter, Mitch throws 2 picks, and they're going to be clambering for Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I think they could bring him in if this goes south for Mitch pretty quickly.
Now, the last time that a rookie played in a week 3 opener was a little man called Baker Mayfield. And he won his first game against the Jets.
That's right, yeah. He came in because Tyrod Taylor got hurt, didn't he?
Yeah, so I mean, this could be very interesting, because of that. And, it's going to go one or two ways. It's either going to be brilliant and it's going to be a classic, or it's going to be a defense is on top.
We don't want that. I think that there's going to be no Jadeveon Clowney this week, and that was a big factor for the Jets coming back into that game against the Browns on Sunday. That incredible comeback, and then Myles Garrett is questionable. He's a tough guy. I would assume he'd play, but that is considering they didn't. I think they only got Joe Flacco twice last week or something like that. So that's not enough considering the state of that offensive line. And the Steelers' offensive line isn't much better. It hasn't helped Najee Harris. He had 15 carries for 49 yards last week, which isn't really great by his standards. But the Jets did get Breece Hall to have 7.1 yards per carry versus the Browns. So maybe the Browns' run defense is the problem.
Possibly, and if the Browns' run defense is the problem, then someone like Mike Tomlin, who's such a great coach, will look at that and go, right, well, let's run it. And let's help Trubisky out.
Yeah.
But as I said, if this all goes totally south, we could be looking at a disaster of, people clambering for Kenny Pickett. And
we heard the Boo Birds last week. They were calling for Pickett, so.
But then again, the problem with this is, does Mike Tomlin listen to that? Would you, if you were Mike Tomlin?
I don't think so. I'm the coach, I make the decision. I think it would maybe start factoring in my head, especially if, it starts going south for Mitch early on in this game, and the fans start, clamoring for it. I think ultimately, I don't think I would be pressured into the decision, but I mean, who knows?
Yes, we're not the coach.
Exactly. That should be one of our lines on merch if we end up making any merch. I'm not the coach. But
well, at least I've come off the Magic Mitch hype train.
Yes, thankfully. Just one final point in this game is I think that no TJ Watt is going to be a huge loss for the Steelers. They had no sacks last week versus Mac Jones. It's only the third time since 2017 that's happened, and I feel like something similar could happen again if if the Browns are kind of driving, they won't be able to force this. The Steelers won't be able to force them off the field. So, in that respect, I'm gonna take. I think it just comes down to which offense you trust to really make a play more, because I feel like both defenses are kind of evenly matched to a sense, and I just feel like the Steelers offense was a disaster last week, whereas the Browns offense hasn't really been a problem through the first 2 weeks. So I'm gonna take the Browns to win this one close, but I think they will.
Well, Browns are 5-point favourites.
Okay.
For a reason. It's not a scorching 6, so we don't need to do the covering. I'm actually going to take Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
If Clowney's not there and Garrett's not there, and that offensive line for Cleveland isn't exactly, bulletproof. If Pittsburgh can get, and also if Jacoby Brissett makes a silly play to try and throw the thing deep to Cooper or Donovan Peoples-Jones, there's a fella back there called Minkah Fitzpatrick. He likes to catch it.
Yep, that is true. That's true. That being said, both top Steelers corners, Cameron, can't remember his name, Cameron something, and Levi Wallace both had pretty rough games last week.
I know. A team that was humiliated the week before always plays well.
All right then. So we've got an interesting vote off here. All right, that's Thursday Night Football. Check that out on Prime Video tonight. In other news, we'll speak to the Sunday games then. We'll start Sunday 6 p.m. Bengals at Jets. Now we need to figure out if this is Joe Flacco or Joe Fluco. 307 yards, 4 touchdown performance versus the Browns.
He's a former Super Bowl MVP.
It's true. It's true. I'm asking the question. I'm not saying anything. I'm not.
This is a very interesting game because the Bengals are on the slide. And Bengals are on a massive slide at the moment.
Yeah.
I actually saw a statistic. You said it was 93 times he was on course to be sacked for.
I think that was wrong.
That number is actually now 111.
Yeah. He won't last that long. He won't. He'll get hurt before that, unfortunately.
I mean, this could be a very interesting game. I do think Cincinnati will win. I think Cincinnati are a better team than New York. However, last week we all expected Cleveland to win. And that went totally wrong as well. I think Cincinnati should win it because obviously they've got the better roster. But the Jets could fluke it again. And I mean, a couple of players that we're not really talking about, Braxton Berrios and Carter, the running back. 2 of them have actually quite impressed me. I also love the first round pick, Wilson.
Yep, Garrett Wilson's a beast. I was just going to speak about him. I think Chidobe Awuzie is gonna be kind of making sure he's locked down. He only allowed 3 catches last week. If Garrett is on Eli Apple, that chalk this one up for the Jets. So I think, yeah.
This is what we talk about coaches. Look at a team, look at any team you're playing, look at the strengths, look at the weaknesses, and then we can go from there. Do not try to do something you don't have to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's, for example, we'll get to it later on. If one team's got a star corner, put your star wide out another guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that you look at, it's a tough one to analyze. This is a sneaky good game, I think, and it's crazy that we're considering. We spoke about Joe Flacco before we mentioned Joe Burrow, who I think is going to be dialed in for this game. I think that he spoke to the media. I don't think it was right after the Cowboys game. He's deleted Instagram and Twitter for now, so he's blocking out all that noise. He's not having any distractions. So I think he's locked in and he's due for a good game. I think that, he was sacked 6 times last week, and I think that number could still be I don't think it'll be 6 because the Jets only sacked Jacoby Brissett once last week. The Jets pass rush is probably their weak spot on their team more than anything. They don't really have anybody that can get to the passer. That being said, this is with Bengals offensive line, and Lyle Collins, I think, is going to be out for this game. He hasn't been really good anyway.
That was Joe Burrow's new bodyguard.
Exactly, yeah. It's a really, really tough game. I think that Joe Burrow is going to be locked in for this game. You know I'm a Joe Burrow fan. I think that they're going to win this game. The Bengals will win this game I think it'll maybe be 1 point in it. That being said, the line's 5. I think there's only going to be a point in it, to be honest. I think this will be a confidence.
It's not a scorching 6, but the line is 5.
Mm-hmm. That being said, about the Bengals, if the Jets do win this, I think there's, they have to consider keeping Joe Flacco in the groove, even when Zach Wilson's back, because I don't know. The guy that hasn't proved anything, you can't slot him right back in, especially if Joe Flacco plays well. If the Jets are 2-2 by next week, right? Joe Flacco's played well, obviously last week. If he plays well this week and he plays well next week, I don't see how the Jets could make that change until he either gets hurt or falls off.
Unless they've told Joe Flacco, you're going to play till Zach's fit, and that's it.
Yeah, it's true. That is the reason why. Well, obviously we are not. Well, I am not a coach. I just think that if Joe Flacco plays well over this next.
So what you're saying is, I am a coach. Is that what you're trying to say there?
Well, I mean, you're disagreeing with my opinion. So you wouldn't be in the decision to make the choice, or in the position to make the choice. Sorry, but yeah, I just think it would upset the balance of the team. I think the chemistry that's been built. I think that things work. The guy's a Super Bowl winner now. People argue, was he carried by his defense? Did he just play really, really well? That's something else. But regardless, he can turn it on, and I think you upset the living standards if you bench Joe Flacco for Zach Wilson the minute he's ready.
But we're going to go Bengals for a win.
Bengals for a win. Yeah, we're in agreement there. All right, then let's keep going. Another 6 p.m. game. Saints at Panthers.
This is the first scorching 6 of the week.
Okay, what's the line?
The line is Saints -3.
-3. Okay.
I think this is going to be one of these games where I think Michael Thomas will show up. I think Jameis will be not under his. I know Brian Burns is brilliant. He's played very well for the Panthers. I just think last week against the Bucs, it was more about can we outscore that defense, and that Bucs defense is brilliant. You can't dress that up any other way. I just think that this week, they were beaten last week, played very badly.
Mm-hmm.
I just think this is a week. And also, is Marshawn Lattimore able to play? I'm just
Yes, he
checking
is.
that.
He is
He
playing,
is,
yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Baker's got a tendency sometimes, if he's locked on a receiver, to keep going to him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Marshawn Lattimore likes to catch.
Yeah, he'll punish Baker for that.
And I just think that this could be a very interesting game. I'm going to go with the Saints winning here only because I fancy them to win. I think last week was rocky, and I think the Panthers last week lost to the Giants, whose defense isn't elite. It's not elite.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can only score 16 points on that Giants defense, then clearly there's an issue somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with the Giants. See you. I'm going to go with the Saints to win. -3 is the line, and I'm taking it.
Yeah. I think that obviously, if you listen to the review show, you would have known I was not happy with Jameis Winston. He had a nightmare. He was picked 3 times. He was sacked 6 times, and he was hit 9 times. Now he's dealing with the fractures in his back. Yeah, if you're on the field, you've got no excuse, in my opinion. The Saints' run game, that's sufficient. But they didn't have Alvin Kamara last week, but Mark Ingram kind of picked up the slack to an extent. He had 10 carries for 60 yards. Now, that being said, they did have to get away from it because the game got a little bit out of hand. And Jameis kept turning it over. So, I'm not sure if Alvin Kamara is back this week. But regardless, this Panthers run defense is getting better. Which is something to keep an eye on. I agree with you, though. I'm going to take the Saints to win this in a very, very boring game. I think this could be similar to last week, a bit of a slugfest for the Saints, who will come out top. But I am going to take the Panthers to cover here, only because they've lost both their first 2 games by 3 points, if I'm not incorrect.
Okay.
And 3 points, I think, is enough. I think, yeah. I'm going to take Saints to win, but I'll take Panthers to cover.
May as well just get your line over the now, but the Saints have Michael Thomas.
But the thing is, they've got Jameis Winston thrown to him. Nah, doesn't impress me. Doesn't frighten me.
They've got Michael Thomas, MVP.
Right then, there we go. Cool. Let's keep going through the Sunday games. Oh, here's a boring one. Here's a disaster game. Texans at Bears. Boring. Justin Fields had 7 pass completions last week against the Packers. I think they need to find a way to get Darnell Mooney involved. Now, that being said, I think maybe they don't trust the offensive line to get Justin Fields. Similar to the Steelers, they don't trust Justin Fields to wait or let deep routes and or even medium routes develop and for Justin Fields to find them. But I think Darnell Mooney had negative receiving yards last week. He had 2 catches for like -4 yards or something. So, Chris, me and you had more receiving yards than Darnell Mooney last week. And that can't be happening. I think that.
But what do we keep saying though? We keep saying, but you have to look at who you're playing against.
Mm-hmm.
Because week 1 they played not very well, but they got the W. And
Mm-hmm.
this could be, I'm actually in agreement with you. This could be a field goal kicking game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's not much really to say about it. I was going to pick it in my scorching 6 and went against it because the line was just too difficult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What is the line?
3.
I think that maybe part of the reason the Bears came away from didn't pass the ball so often is because David Montgomery ran the ball really well. He only had 15 carries for 100, but it was 122 yards. And the Texans allowed 4.1 yards per carry versus the Broncos. Now, they've got very good running backs, but David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert are both very, very good as well. So I think that the Texans are just a little bit of a mess. They could be scrappy, but I don't really believe that they could hang around long enough. I don't think they've got the offensive personnel to make a play and come off with enough plays to make them go home with the victory.
Okay.
I got there eventually. With the Bears, They had 3 sacks on Aaron Rodgers last week. Mills was sacked 3 times. Kyler Gordon has allowed 11 catches on 17 targets this year as the rookie corner, 156 yards and a touchdown. So rough first 2 weeks for him. But outside of Brandon Cooks, I don't really think that the Texans have much of a offensive personnel on. It's likely Brandon Cooks will probably be matched up against Jalen Johnson, who I think has only allowed 1 catch all season. Yep. So, kind of other point of concern for the Bears is Fields was sacked 3 times, but only on 14 dropbacks. Now that is just bad. That's a bad sample size to be getting sacked so much.
No, that is true. But the offensive line's not exactly.
But at the end of the day, there has to be a winner, and I think I'm going to take the Bears to edge just barely to win this.
Yeah, just barely, just.
You're in agreement with me, Chris?
Yeah.
Win. All right, then. That was not a good game, but here's a good game. Well, a decent game. Chiefs at Colts.
This is a scorching 6.
Scorching 6. Let's do it.
The line is Chiefs -4. 4.
Okay.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with the line?
-4. I think that's not enough. I just don't see this Colts team putting up. They put up a goose egg last week against the Jags.
This could get very, very interesting very fast.
That's a belter of a pick for you. That's your best scorching 6 selection yet.
Oh, no, it's not. I've got one coming up later on.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
And the problem is, I think it's going to muck up your lock.
Oh, no.
But
okay.
-4, that's got to be pick of the week, I think.
Yeah, that's a really, really good one. Kind of some analysis on the game. Mahomes threw a pass to 9 different receivers last week. And what was, I think he only had about 6.6 yards per attempt, which isn't what he's used to. It's not what anybody's really used to seeing from Mahomes. But the thing is, he's proven that he can win in both ways, by throwing it deep and by, being essentially what's the word? He wasn't a game manager last week. He was I don't know. I'll workshop it, but there's a word that I can put in front of game manager. Effective game manager. We'll go with that. I'll workshop it, but I like that for now. I think, he made the throws that he needed to make, but aside from maybe 2 or 3, he wasn't super impressive in terms of, him throwing it through the air.
Patrick Mahomes did last week what any fan could do. He made throws when he had to make throws.
Yeah.
And, if the passing game's not working, Andy Reid sticks with it because he knows eventually Patrick Mahomes will throw one.
Yeah, they'll come at the yeah.
The running backs are also very interesting for me. I love Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah.
Let's flip the ball. That Chiefs defense wasn't brilliant. Wasn't brilliant against the Chargers.
And they let them get kind of back into it with Justin Herbert had broken or fractured rib cartilage or something.
Yeah, we'll get to that later on. But could be very interesting. And Chris Jones came alive in the 4th. The defense was actually good throughout. Willie Gay was was very good for me. I quite enjoyed watching him. I'm going to take the Chiefs to win this. I don't see Matt Ryan doing very much. Again, whether Michael Pittman plays is irrelevant. I think the cornerback, the 6th round corner, I mean, he did well when he guarded Everett. Why can't he guard him the same way? Jonathan Taylor, how we stop defense, how we stop runners, we fill the box. I'm going to go Chiefs. Chiefs win, 4 points. Don't see it being an issue.
Yeah. I think the Colts need to, if the Colts have got to stand any chance, they've got to deal with Travis Kelce, clearly. He is Mahomes' favorite target. But at the same time, is like, can you cover potentially 8 other guys?
Exactly.
Obviously not at the same time, but Mahomes is, he's able to spread the ball around. And another big issue is that they need to try and get to the quarterback. They only hit Trevor Lawrence twice last week. They didn't sack him. And that's a big issue when you've got a guy like Patrick Mahomes who can just make a play from nothing. So I was going to say something else. No, I can't remember what it was. I'm going to take the Chiefs to win, and I'm going to take them to cover. I think this is going to get ugly pretty quickly. Plus cover, and you agree with me, Chris? Plus cover. Cool. All right, then. Ravens at Patriots.
This is another Scotcher.
Okay.
Ravens -3.
-3. Okay.
I don't trust this Patriots defense or offense. I don't trust them at all.
No.
I mean, I know it was the Steelers last week, but it was the Steelers with Mitch Trubisky. And
I think they escaped with that win. I think the Steelers just weren't explosive enough on offense, and they're about to face one of the most explosive offenses in the league.
Yeah, and I know I'm high on Trubisky. I quite like Mitch, but I just think -3s. That's a killer of a line as well. I mean, that's 2 lines this week where we've basically got killed basically. And I meant to say to you, Chiefs. That's my lock. I meant to say Chiefs.
Chiefs your lock. All right then, that's a good one. There is your lock. I draw a wee lock symbol whenever I do it, so I need to remember what it is. It's not like a weight or something like that. Yeah. I'm not very good at artism.
But I don't trust this Patriots defense at all. And last week was a fluke. If the Ravens put up that many points, Mac Jones is not going to throw 42 points. I'm sorry.
No, easy. No way. They just don't have, they don't have a Tyreek Hill or a Jalen Waddle. Do you know what I mean? So I think Matthew Judon needs to be made to basically have a constant spy on Lamar and make sure he's not getting out. They used to be teammates, if I'm not incorrect. So they kind of know, and I think that's got to, like stopping Lamar has got to be more. It's not going to stop. It's not going to rest on the shoulders of one player. It's got to be the scheme. And Bill Belichick's a defensive genius.
Now, I'm not a defensive coordinator. However, you've got your defensive line, your 4 defensive linemen. You've then got, just because I like to play this sort of scheme, you've got your 3 linebackers.
That's a 4-3.
Yes. I'm telling you right now, get your safeties to guard Andrews and wide out 3. Tell the 2 linebacker how you've got the 3. The middle linebacker, keep him there. Stops the sort of running back jumping into a hole.
And can keep an eye on Lamar that way.
Yeah. And then have your other 2 linebackers staying there. Because for the simple reason, when Lamar runs, he has to run at the side. He's not going to run forward. He's going to run at the side. You stay there. You'll stop him left. You'll stop him right. I mean, I'm not a defensive coordinator, but that's the only way I could see us stopping Lamar.
He wasn't touched last week, and even though they lost, like he didn't even get hit. He wasn't sacked. He wasn't hit. And even though they lost, obviously he put up an unbelievable stat line. So yeah, they need to do something. They need to get him on his back. They need to frustrate him, and they need to force him into throws if they can. That we write the Patriots off from being able to do this, but I think if anybody can draw the plan to do it, it's Bill Belichick.
I'm still going to go Ravens.
Yeah. What you were saying about Mark Andrews, he had 9 catches for 104 yards and a touchdown last week. He definitely needs someone on him. He's, him and Devin Duvernay and Rashad Bateman, all, highly, especially the 2 wide receivers there, all highly underrated going into this season for what they could do for Lamar, and they've all balled out so far. That being said, we have the Ravens defensive side, and their pass defense was triple F minus last week. Mm-hmm. That is unacceptable for a high school team. 469 yards. I don't think they sacked Tua either. Or maybe they only got him once or twice. I'm not too sure. I do have it written on the notes somewhere. So that could be encouraging if Mac Jones and Nelson Aguilar can keep up their chemistry. But it's a tall ask for the Patriots here. And I think that had the Steelers not shot themselves in the foot and, thrown the game away to the Patriots should be looking at an 0-3 start. I'm going to take the Ravens to win and cover. But I'm going to take them to cover, but I think it'll be close. I don't think it's going to be a huge blowout like week one.
Okay.
And you agree with me?
Yep.
There we go. Writing down notes. Boom, boom, boom. All right, we will take a short break, and then when we're back, we will review the next couple of games on the 6 p.m. slate. Bills at Dolphins.
This is another scorching 6.
Okay.
The line is Bills minus a touchdown.
Okay.
They put up 41 points.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They lost 7.
And the team they just, the team they're playing against just had 38 put on them. I know they won, but
Buffalo's not conceding 38 points.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
42 points. Buffalo's not conceding anywhere close to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Last week was a fluke. It was a fluke.
For the Dolphins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know they played to the end, but this is a different kettle of fish. I mean, results of that happen once a season.
Yeah.
And I know we talk about, so-and-so had so many fourth quarter comebacks, and no. I think Buffalo, Sean McDermott's very, very smart. He'll know before we start this game, you're on Tyreek Hill, you're on Jalen Waddle, you're on Mike Gesicki. On you go, Tua. What are you going to do now, son?
Now, the only thing about that is the Bills' corners are beat up. Obviously, Dane Jackson, he had a horrible neck injury on Monday night, and thankfully he's okay, but obviously he's not going to play this week. And I think Christian Benford's struggling with something. I can't remember if I read that somewhere. So who are you going to ask to cover, the Cheetah and the Penguin, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, who both of them had 140 plus yards and 2 touchdowns each?
Next man up.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Yep.
And I think, but by the time it takes, I know he's fast, but don't jump down my throat on that. I think by the time it takes them to get downfield to get open, Von Miller will have put 2 on his backside.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Von Miller, in my opinion, is now looking like Super Bowl 50. Von Miller.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Again, he's found a scheme that suits Von Miller.
Yeah, it does. And I think the triangle on the back of his, as his hair's maybe got something to do with that as well. It's part of the Illuminati. I think that this is the best offensive line the Bills have faced so far. Tua was only hit twice. He wasn't sacked at all. He was only hit twice in 50 dropbacks last week. And the Ravens pass rush nothing to sniff at. Now, the Bills is better, and I think they will get him this week. But this is a good offensive line, and I think that this is a real truth game for both teams. I think if the Bills blow the doors off, on our, just like they did on Monday night, if they blow the doors off the Dolphins, I think it confirms what we all think, that, to be fair, it probably is their Super Bowl to lose.
Yeah.
But if the Dolphins stick around, I don't think they'd have to necessarily win this game for people to take them seriously. I think if they stick around, if they beat them, I think that they're proving the league they're for real. And you say all this noise about the Bills. Hang on, listen to us. We're the guys. We're the guys in the AFC East right now.
Well, that is true, and I totally agree with you. I just think they've only conceded 17 points in 2 games. I mean, I'm actually going to give a score to this game.
Okay.
And I'm going to go something like, let me think. I'm going to go 31-10.
Yeah.
Bills.
Just the same as week 1. Okay. So Chris, Dub plus Lock. I'll give you a score then. Why not? I'm going to say the Bills. I think the Bills will win this game. And I'll have them. What was the line? It was a touchdown.
A touchdown, yep.
I'm going to take the Dolphins to cover here, just to make things interesting. And I'll give you a score. Here we go. So you said 31-10. I'm going to give you 30-24.
Oh, you're going for a thriller?
Yep. I think this is going to be a great, great game. I just was so impressed with the Dolphins last week.
That's the Sky game.
Is it the Sky game? I'll be watching on Red Zone anyway, but I mean, if it gets intense, I'll flip this over. So let's go.
That's on Sky Sports Packers.
Yep. Sky Sports Packers. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a great game.
Good news for you later on in the show.
Okay.
You'll look forward to it.
All right then. Well, we will move on to our next game. This is the Vikings at Lions. If I'm not incorrect, this is the last game of the 6 p.m. slate. Let me see. Oh no, there's 2 more. I'm talking rubbish.
Yeah, because I've only got 1 game in my scorching 6, which is in the late window.
Right, okay. Yeah, Vikings at Lions.
Again, this is an interesting game, and I was going to put it in my scorching 6 and didn't, because I'm not too sure. Because Kirk Cousins is going to be wonderful.
Of course,
because the game's at 6 o'clock. And I don't know. I mean, the game's indoors. I know, do not start, that it's in Minnesota and the stadium's raucous, but Jared Goff's brilliant indoors. But it is in Minnesota. And I just think that it's 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock Minnesota time, of course. Kirk Cousins is going to be brilliant. He's going to be the next Joe Montana in this game. And I just think this could be... It could get ugly real fast, because obviously they were humiliated on Monday night. The thing that may help the Lions, though, is the turnaround time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only really been, 5 days, really, if you think about it? Because you played on Monday in Philadelphia, am I right there?
Yep, that's right. So,
got to get back to Minnesota. You're shattered by the time you get back. So that's now... couple of days gone. You then can only practice for 2 days. I know you're a professional player and you should be fine, but too much, I think. I'm going to go with the Vikings to win. If it was a scorcher, I would take the Lions to cover, but I'm not going to. And I think the Vikings' offensive line, it's not, as I said earlier on the show, it's not bulletproof. And I just think Aiden Hutchinson, he now discovered, how do I get quarterbacks on the floor? I can get them there.
Yep.
Stop Dalvin Cook. Fill the box. I'm not going to say cover Justin Jefferson, because I'd rather, more chance of me lifting you, and I'm not going to I'm not going to say either, because the only thing that maybe goes in the Lions' favour is how good they've been offensively. And this could be a very, very close game, a very, very, very close game.
So, did you know that Amon-Ra St. Brown, or Among Us St. Brown, as I've been hearing, is the first player in NFL history with 6 straight games of at least 8 catches and a touchdown dating back to last season? The guy is on an unprecedented offensive tear. The Lions have the 3rd most points scored in the NFL.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, the last 2 weeks they've scored 35.
Yeah. It's crazy. 71 points I think they've got. I think they're tied with the Chiefs.
you see, the thing is, it's not as if you can even turn around and say, well, look at who they've played.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Commanders aren't to be sniffed at.
Exactly. They're solid team. Eagles, they played the Eagles hard.
And I know how much you're on the Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts hype train.
Yep.
You're still on that. We'll get to that in a minute. I just think I'm going to go with the Vikings to sneak it.
Okay.
Sneak it. Only because it's at 1 o'clock.
My concern with it is that the Vikings defense just allowed 333 passing yards to Jalen Hurts, who had a career night, and there's no taking that away from him. And I'm not trying to disrespect him by wording it like that. And the other concern is that Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter only had 11 pressures between them. I think Danielle Hunter had a sack. Was that?
It was a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't count.
Oh,
right?
Right.
Kirk doesn't play on Mondays.
So, and then you look at the Lions' run game last week. DeAndre Swift, who I think's has got a little bit of an ankle injury. I think he's going to be okay. And Jamal Williams, both of them were unbelievable. And the Vikings allowed 163 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, yeah, most of it was Jalen Hurts. The 2 touchdowns were Jalen Hurts, but it still happened. The guys get legs. And, if you've got a guy who specializes in running for a touchdown, who are as lethal as those two, I think you've got a recipe for disaster for this Vikings defense. So give me the Lions. I'm taking the Lions. Hell yeah.
You're taking the Lions.
I'm just so impressed with their offense through 2 weeks, and I think they keep it up. I think the Vikings defense is knackered. That the Lions offensive line is easily top 5 in the league. Jared Goff, we all know when Jared Goff is protected, he's great. Indoors, great. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, all guys which are really good. Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift can both catch it at the backfield, and you've got TJ Hawkinson, who I need for fantasy points. So if you're listening, let's do it. Come on, big man. So I think, I'm going to take Lions in this one. Hell yeah.
Okay.
Happy with that.
I've got the Vikes there.
That wasn't a scorching 6, was it? No.
No, the line, though. If it was a line, I was taking the Lions to cover.
What is the line?
The Vikes are favoured by 5 points.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would have taken that. Clearly, because I had the Lions to win.
Vikes to sneak it.
Yeah. Cool. I'm glad we've got, a couple disagreements every week, and we haven't come out with like a identical pick sheet yet. Because now you're in the lead, you could just do that, and I can't overtake you.
Well, I know, but there's no point in that. And I've got the missus and the wee one picking for the guest this week.
Oh well, there you go then. That's all right.
I'm quite excited about that, actually.
It'll be good. Let me guess. Is she going to pick Kyler Murray to win by any chance?
Do you know what she's doing? I'm actually going to get to that later on because she's come off the Kyler Murray train.
What? After last week?
She likes a different team after she saw the uniforms.
Oh, right. Okay. Right then. Let's keep going. The team that the Cardinals beat last week, the Raiders, are on the road to the Tennessee Titans. Both teams are 0-2. This is a nasty matchup.
This is going to be a strange game.
Mm-hmm.
I think because Josh McDaniel has been getting pressure in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you not chucking the thing to Devontae Adams?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This could be this is going to be one of these games where it's going to blow the roof off the place.
Yeah.
And the Titans were, I'm saying it, humiliated on Monday. Mm-hmm. Humiliated. That, I think, if this was football, like British football, Mike Vrabel would have been on the dole queuing Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
And I just think that was embarrassing. However, I think the Raiders have to prove a point that last week was a fluke.
Mm-hmm. And they can finish games.
But I'm going to take the Raiders. There's not really much to say on this game. I think the Titans have lost an awful lot of offensive pieces. The Raiders have got the better offensive pieces. Both defenses are pretty even. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with the Raiders here. I think they'll get their first win.
Now, I think everybody kind of like defensive coordinators are in the league. It would be malpractice to not know how to shut down the Titans, and that's to neutralize Derrick Henry. He had 1.9 yards per carry on Monday night against the Bills, and that's the way to do it. 13 carries for 25 yards, I think, is what he finished with, and obviously they had to come away from the run because he got so out of hand. I think this is the week that Derrick Henry bounces back, and if the Titans can get on a roll with Derrick Henry, I think their offense is, I think they can do enough to neutralize the Raiders on offense, because they just became, worthless in the second half against the Cardinals. They just, they couldn't finish drives. The disharmony between Devontae Adams and Derek Carr was pretty obvious. Yeah, he scored, but my nan could score on that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and the Raiders, back to Derrick Henry, I actually meant to say this, allowed 143 rushing yards versus the Cardinals, and they allowed Kyler Murray to scramble for 84 running around the place, and they couldn't get a hold of him. They couldn't finish the sack. They couldn't end the game, and it can't happen again. The performance in the second half for the Raiders and overtime clearly was just a tire fire, and I think that
this is the week to save Tannehill's job.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Willis will start next week.
Mm-hmm. I think that he's not in the best position, Tannehill. Obviously, there's not really any pass catchers, and it would have probably made sense to pay AJ Brown that money after everything. Treylon Burks is struggling, and I couldn't tell you anybody else really on the squad. That being said, I think there's a nasty aura, nasty energy going around the Raiders at the minute, so I'm going to take the Titans to win here.
I'm taking the Raiders. I'm
not salty, by the way. I totally didn't comment on Devontae Adams' latest Instagram post. Can't wait to see you 0-3 this time next week. I totally didn't do that.
All right, okay. Something's a bit jealous that he
moving on. Eagles. Yeah, Eagles at Commanders.
This is the scorching six. This is the last scorching six of the sixth window.
All right, then.
The Eagles, -6.
-6. Now, obviously, Jalen Hurts is coming off the game of his life. 26 for 31, 333 passing yards, touchdown, a pick, and 2 rushing touchdowns. I didn't even write that down. I was so buzzing for it. I know it all off the top of my head right now. Problem was he was sacked 3 times.
The reason I'm going with this as a scorching 6 is because of you. You're on this Jalen Hurts hype train. Mm-hmm. And it means if it goes wrong, I can blame you.
Just like you blame me for the Packers defense.
Yes. Well, your fault. You told me they were elite. I just think the Commanders last week struggled, and that Eagles defense. I'm actually not even talking about Jalen Hurts here and AJ Brown. Mm-hmm. That Eagles defense is scary. Mm-hmm. And if they can get to Carson Wentz will make some ridiculous throw and it'll get picked. The man I'm going to talk about is Darius Slay. Now, put him on McLaurin. I know Jahan Dotson had a great game week 1. Look at opposition.
Yeah.
And I just think that you take McLaurin out of the game, you fill the box, there's going to be a problem there for Carson Wentz. I just think the Eagles will win this and win it well. I need to take the Eagles, and of course, I've picked the -6 here. This could get out of hand very, very quickly. However, I do think Carson Wentz will do something magical and get me fantasy points. But I've got the Eagles. I've got the Eagles winning and winning well.
To cover, yeah. I think that if Wentz can channel his second half from last week and not let the picks get him down, I think he could turn this into a real game. He's clearly going to have I don't know about a vendetta, but a chip on his shoulder playing up against his old team. But he does need to avoid sacks.
He wants a statue outside Lincoln Financial Field.
Yeah. The problem is he needs to avoid sacks. He was sacked 5 times against the Lions. The Eagles sacked Cousins 2 times and hit him 7 times. So clearly the pass rush is not working into their favor, as you know, and nobody does, and that points to holes in the offensive line. So I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to take the Eagles to win, Eagles to cover, and the Eagles are my lock. I'm happy.
Okay.
Eagles to win, Eagles to cover.
That's upset me there because that wasn't who I thought you were going to pick. But okay.
Who did you think I was going to pick?
We'll get to it later on.
All right, then. Okay. Well, that's everything from the 6 p.m. early window slate. We'll keep going. Let's go for the games after 9 p.m. Let's start with Falcons at Seahawks.
Do we have to?
Exactly.
I mean, this is going to be boring. Now that I've said that, it's going to be a thriller, isn't it?
I don't think it could be boring. I think that it might be cagey.
Yeah, this could come down to which kicker can put the thing through the post. Both offenses. I'm going to take the Falcons to win here.
Mm-hmm.
I think their offense is better than the Seahawks' offense.
Mm-hmm.
Drake London, I'm quite impressed to see him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go with the Falcons to win. I think last week they nearly done it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nearly excised their own demons. And
I think this week they got over the line. I think Seattle last week struggled against the 49ers. And this is a 49ers team without Kittle, without star running backs. I mean, I know, and Garoppolo hadn't. That was Garoppolo's first start of the year. I just think the Falcons here. I think Marcus Mariota's shown he can play still. Cordell Patterson's playing well. Drake London's impressing me. I would like to see Kyle Pitts get more involved.
Yep.
But I'm going to go for the Falcons here.
So I think that the concern for the Seahawks here is that there was no offensive touchdowns last week. Their points came off a kick six. Geno Smith, he was okay. 6.6 yards per attempt, but it's just not explosive enough. And there seems to be he seems to be struggling to link up with DK Metcalf. There seems to be nothing really working there in terms of the chemistry. On the other side, I think the Falcons are very, very respectable versus the Rams. Obviously, the Rams took that safety, so the scoreline was a little bit more flattering. But to get that, they were 28-3 down and scored the last 24 points essentially.
Exactly.
They went 24-3 over the last to end the game. So I think they were respectable. My worry is that no lead is safe with the Falcons, and if they don't, I think even with the incompetence, or not incompetence, but how ineffective the Seattle offense has been, I still don't think that. Do you know what I mean? 17 points is safe because it's the Falcons. You look at AJ Terrell, last week he allowed 5 catches on 5 targets and 2 touchdowns. That's rough for one of the supposedly best man-to-man corners in the league. Make put my laptop on charge.
But it was Cooper Kupp, and it was Allen Robinson. I mean, but I think the Falcons will win this one. I just think I've got them winning this one.
Yeah, I think Cordell Patterson can get rolling early. I think that the Falcons don't have to throw it too much if this is the case. Not that it would really matter. I don't think the Seahawks have got an incredible secondary. But yeah, I'm going to take the Falcons to win there as well. There we go. All right, then. Let's keep going. Here's a good one. Jaguars at Chargers.
This is the last scorching 6 of the week.
Okay.
Jaguars +8.
Okay. All right then.
Now, the reason that I thought I thought the Chargers was going to be your lock this week.
Yeah.
Because I know how much you're on the Justin Herbert hype train. Now, Justin Herbert is day to day. So if he wakes up on Sunday and he's snookered and can't throw it, the backup is Chase Daniel.
Yeah.
I mean, you can put the 4 best receivers around him. He's not gonna.
He's
yeah.
He's a guy. That's it.
And I think this could be very interesting in a lot of different ways. I mean, I thought last week the Jags got rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Then you hyped them up, so this week could be a disaster. That's your quote on the review show, not mine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think the defense is playing well for the Jags. Can they stop Mike Williams, Carter? Keenan Allen could be back this week.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Eckler in the running game. It could be very, very close.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why I've got the Jags at +8. I don't think this is going to be a blowout.
Mm-hmm.
Jags have played very well their first 2 games, and I don't see why they can't freak the Chargers out.
Mm-hmm. Give them a scare.
I'm going to go a Chargers win.
Okay.
Just.
So Dub and Chris cover. Right, here's my analysis. This is a rib injury for Justin Herbert. He is not going to play at anywhere close to 75% this Sunday. Doesn't matter how much you say he's day-to-day. No, the boy is not playing 100% this week. I would be surprised if he really plays at all. I think it would be a wise move for the Chargers to not put him in risk, because the Jags had 5 sacks and 11 QB hits and 18 pressures versus Matt Ryan. That's an insane amount, all right, against a pretty good offensive line.
Yeah.
Now, Bosa and Mack only had half a sack each. Only had half a sack between them and 4 pressures combined, whereas Trevor Lawrence was hit twice, and that was it against the Colts. Now, Justin Herbert, 5 sacks, 11 QB hits, 18 pressures. He's going to be, his internal, the pressures for one thing. With a rib injury, I don't know if you've ever had a rib injury. They are just the worst. You can't even breathe. The fact he finished that game on Thursday night against the Chiefs, if they were, he's unbelievable. And I just think that the internal clock in his head is going to be going at 1,000 miles an hour to protect that rib. He'll play with a flak jacket if he does play, just to protect that rib. And he'll rush throws. He'll be he'll be off on accuracy and timing, and I think that could present a problem.
I'm going to suggest something here. Put my head coach hat on here.
Mm-hmm.
Why not start Chase Daniel?
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking.
And if the game gets out of hand, you can throw Herbert in and take a chance.
Mm.
If Chase Daniel's managing the game well, then just stick with it. And
yeah,
I just think I just think that the Chargers will sneak it. I think they'll sneak it. I think that the running game's very good. I think Austin Eckler's good. And I think Chase Daniel, if he's told how to manage the game through it, will sneak it.
Mm. Did Chase Daniel not come in for Patrick Mahomes in that playoff game against the Browns a couple of years ago? Or was that Chad Henne? Was it Chad Henne? Okay. Well, regardless, I think that I agree with you. I agree with you on your point there. I think that the Chargers should protect their franchise quarterback no matter how tough he is. And this is early enough in the season where if you have to take a dive, all right, it's fair. Maybe you're 2-3 games behind the Chiefs at this point, but it's not over, and I think you're talented enough to make a run towards the end of the regular season. Asante Samuel Jr. allowed 3 catches for 20 yards last week. All right. Now that could take Christian Kirk out of the game for the Jags.
Yes.
Now,
then run it. Then run it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The run game for the Jags is very, very good. James Robinson had a good game last week. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take the Jags to win this. I'm taking the Jags to win this because I just think that this rib injury is going to be too much for Justin Herbert. You just, if he starts the game, he won't be able to get comfortable at all, and I think he'll rush, like I was saying, he'll rush decisions because he'll just be trying to protect the rib, and his throwing motion, because of the velocity he puts behind it, the pressure, and as a quarterback,
I'm going to say a thing here which is going to sound really horrible.
Yeah.
can't they inject him with stuff?
Yeah, they could, but
that sounds really bad because what stuff? I mean, heroin, but you know what I mean.
Do you know that's not on the NFL's banned substance list?
I didn't actually.
I was confused as well, but then you think about it, well, to be fair, I think it's more of a sickness problem you have over over an addiction, and you're trying, you're not going to be on the field zonked out your mind. Do you know what I mean?
By the way, to play quarterback when you see some of those pass rushes, you must be out your head.
Yeah, I think so. I just think that when you're a quarterback, you tense up your core muscles to basically have enough velocity. You release it as you do the follow through, as it comes around, and you get that little extra bit of velocity coming from your chest. You've got quarterbacks are rotational athletes, so you press off on the turn. You've got your rotation, the torque you get from your waist, and then your core, because you've tensed it throughout the entire motion, you get a little bit more power on that as well. That core, take that away, it messes up the mechanics, the mechanics. I don't think, for one thing, you can just stop doing that if you've learned how to, if that's been your thing for playing football. Justin Herbert's probably been doing that for at least the past 8 years, all right? And I think it's just going to be too much for him to overcome. I think if he does start, I don't think he'll get past the first quarter because it's just going to be too uncomfortable for him.
Okay.
So I'm going to take Jags to win here, and I'll take Jags to cover.
Yes.
I'm running out of space here. Okay. Cool. Good one. Right then. Rams at Cardinals. A good one.
This is going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because they played at this sort of stage last season. It was in SoFi.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyler Murray was brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he did have Christian Kirk. And he did have DeAndre Hopkins.
Mm.
And both aren't there this week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think the Cards will win it. I think Kyler Murray last week did something that no other player has done in NFL history.
Yep.
He had a passing touchdown, rushing touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
He had a passing 2-point conversion,
and
he ran for 84 yards to 20.8 seconds and got a 2-point conversion.
Rushing 2-point conversion, yeah.
I think Kyler Murray in the playoff game last year refused to run.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to refuse this week. He's going to run, and he's going to cause a lot of problems for that Rams defense.
Mm-hmm.
Where I see it going wrong for Arizona is their defense is what defense? I know last week they forced a turnover and stuff and stopped Derek Carr, but this is Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson and Tyler Higbee and that offensive line. And Matt Stafford. And this is going to go one of two ways. Either one quarterback's going to take over the game and it's going to be a blowout, or it's going to be a shootout.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's going to be a shootout.
Yeah, me too.
And it could be a very interesting game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now,
I'm going to take Cardinals to win. It's not a scorching 6, but Cardinals for my win.
There we go. Now, I think that the LA defense, despite having Aaron Donald, isn't scaring anybody right now. Right? 31 points to the Bills. Okay, fair enough. It's the Bills. They let the Falcons back into that game, and we're a Marcus Mariota interception away from potentially losing that. All right, yeah. Let's not like be crazy here and say the Rams were unbelievable last week. The LA defense is not scaring anybody, and I think that Aaron Donald, he's really the only name you have to worry about in the. Oh, bless you.
Yes.
The Aaron Donald's the only one you have to worry about, and can he get his hands? Can he get his paws on Kyler Murray if Murray's doing this rolling, running around thing again? I don't know if he can. Aaron Donald's what, 33 now? You're not catching Kyler Murray at 33.
Well, they'll try to chase Kyler Murray, but I can imagine it'd be a difficult job.
Yeah. So The other thing here is Matt Stafford, or John Matt Stafford. I didn't know, or John Matthew Stafford. I don't know if you knew that was his real name. He keeps turning the ball over.
Doesn't really work. No, I mean, it's not.
No. He keeps turning the ball over. 5 picks in 2 games now. Now, I think that's primarily because teams know where he's going with it. Cooper Kupp, like half the time. But and when he does spread it about, yeah, okay, it works. Allen Lazard. Allen Robinson got his first touchdown last week.
Yep.
Very nice, very good. Still doesn't take away the fact that he's very... I don't think Matt Stafford is sick with Aaron Rodgers syndrome yet, but he could be getting close if he continues to insist to throw to Cooper Kupp. And Cooper Kupp's obviously great and can beat double coverage if you need him to, but the odds are stacked against him. But it's not an impossible ask, but it is against him. And I just feel like what I said in the review show for last week, when Kyler Murray performs magic like he did, there is nobody that can stop him. He is in those 5 quarterbacks: Rodgers, Brady, Allen, and Mahomes, and Murray. Now the 5 guys I trust any moment in the game to get me a magical play to win me the game. I just believe it, right? Never mind playoff wins, never mind any of this, right? I was speechless. I just kept going, what? Last week when he performed all this, and it's crazy. He was only pressured in 14% of his dropbacks last week against the Raiders. And I think on paper, I know football's not played on paper, but on paper, the Raiders defense has Max Crosby. The Rams defense has Aaron Donald. Both of those guys, that's the only name really on their defense. Yeah, the Rams have got Jalen Ramsey, but to try and annoy Kyler Murray and force him into things, I don't think the Rams have got a player up on the Raiders, and the Raiders couldn't do it.
No,
so,
I know that.
For that reason, I'm going to take the Cardinals to win here. I think.
Okay.
I think it's just magic for me.
Okay.
All right, we'll take a short break, and we're back. We'll hit the last 3 games of the week. Yeah, 3 games of the week. All right then, Packers at Buccaneers. Tom Brady beat Aaron Rodgers round 5.
This is going to be a very interesting game. I think both teams won last week against bad offenses. I don't want to slag off offenses, and you know that, but I think last week was to the Bears and the Saints, not exactly setting the world on fire.
Yeah.
I think Brady's got a point to prove. The one upside, is that if that's the right word to use there for the Packers, sorry, is no Mike Evans. No Chris Godwin.
And no Akeem Hicks.
Yes,
he's huge in that defensive line.
I did notice something though. They have signed Cole Beasley to the practice squad. Could you imagine that as a 3 receiver pack? Evans, Godwin, and Beasley.
And Julio Jones in the mix as well for 6 plays.
Yeah, so I mean, this could be very interesting. Although, without Mike Evans, did they ask Julio Jones to step up?
If he's fit, do you know what I mean? I don't know if Julio Jones has it in his hamstrings to be that guy you can depend on in a situation like this anymore. I don't think there's going to be any David Bakhtiari for the Packers either, and I am slowly coming to the realization that I think that his career is probably over.
This is his last game. This is last season, sorry.
I don't think so much as that. I just think that he just won't recover from this ACL tear. Like, I remember last year, he was going to be back for week 1 against the Saints, and he didn't play a snap in 2021. Yeah, and he hasn't played a snap since the game against the Lions in January. So
I think the older you get, injuries don't heal.
Now, he is on the wrong side of 30, if I'm not incorrect now. So,
well, unless I'm mistaken, the guy on the other side of the ball, he's in his 40s.
Yeah, true.
I think it's the same if Brady got hurt, I don't think he would recover.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's why Brady's been so good, because he rarely gets touched. And I think the Bucks will win this. I think they always find a way to do Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. I think that the Bucks defensive front is clearly better than the Bears, and that there is obviously the Packers' identity is to run the ball with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. Aaron Jones had 8.8 yards per carry last week against the Bears. I don't see that continuing this week. I think that the Bucks pass or run defense is going to end up forcing the ball into Aaron Rodgers' hands and making them throw. And if 17 was still on the team, I would be up for it. But I just think that they just don't have the receivers to really make a play against that Bucks secondary. Now, obviously, Mike Edwards had a pick 6. Jamel Dean had 2 interceptions on Jameis Winston. Aaron Rodgers had only the 3rd pick 6 of his career the last time he played the Buccaneers in Tampa in 2020. So
how'd that game finish?
I don't want to talk about it, if I'm quite honest. So I just think that this game is going to come down to probably, it could be similar to last week for the Buccaneers again. I think that it could be cagey, but I think they'll just make the throw that needs to be made towards the end of the game. And on top of that, is Aaron Rodgers has been rubbish when he plays in Florida. He's got a 3-5 record, and I think it's a sub 70 passer rating. So,
well, he's a leader. He's a baller when he's leading. He's a bailer when he's trailing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is I don't think this Packers team is able to recover from punches in the mouth. Like clearly what happened against the Vikings. You know what I mean? So This would be an ugly loss for the Packers. Just concerning how depleted the Buccaneers are. But I think that all's not lost. I think it's good that we're probably getting them so early in the season. Because then it's done. And we shall see. We'll see. Hopefully I'm wrong. Okay. But I'm agree with you. I'm going to take the Buccaneers to win here. All right then, let's keep going. Sunday night football. No guest this week. I kind of forgot. That's the truth of the matter. But that's cool. We're fine. We can preview Sunday night football. 49ers at Broncos.
It's not. I think it's. I was expecting more from Russell Wilson and the Broncos team, and the 49ers. That's really defensive built now, and I think Garoppolo can make the throws when he has to make them.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to go a 49ers win.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nathaniel Hackett is way in over his head.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's a coordinator. He's not a coach.
I agree with you.
And I think this could be very, very scrappy. At one point last week, the crowd was counting down the play clock.
Yeah. Not a good sign.
That should not be happening. But it is under the lights, and Russell Wilson sometimes turns it on. So I'm not too sure how this one's going to go. But if I had to go, I was going to say 49ers win.
I don't trust the Broncos. They just keep shooting themselves in the foot with these penalties. I think they're the most penalized team in the league. 25 flags through the first 2 weeks, 100 or 200 yards. That's not going to be a team with a great defensive front like the 49ers do. That being said, I think that the Broncos' run offense is pretty stellar. Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, both very, very good. But like we were saying on the review show, they struggle when it comes down to, the opponent's 10. They can't punch it in no matter who's the running back. And there's no Jerry Jeudy there's likely to be no Jerry Jeudy this week for Russell Wilson. So it's going to be the Cortland Sutton show, which worked last week. I think he had about 100 yards.
It was the Texans. It was the Texans.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And I think they put Derek Stingley, the rookie, on Cortland Sutton. So, it kind of makes a bit of sense that he would have a productive day. I think that Jimmy G could really stick it to the 49ers here and say, I can't believe you thought of replacing me. I'm clearly the guy. Now, screw you. I'm going to be out of here next year, and you are going to be with a guy that's played 5 games in the past 3 seasons.
Yep.
So I think that the 49ers defense obviously didn't allow any offensive points to the Seahawks, and they had 2 sacks and 2 pressures on Geno Smith. I don't think the Broncos offensive line is very, very good. He was sacked 3 times last week and hit 7 times. And this is against the Texans, and who have they got on defense? This is in the 2016 Texans where J.J. Watt and, they had other guys. I think this could get ugly pretty quick. And this is despite the fact that Russell Wilson is actually 16-4 against the 49ers in his career.
Okay.
So I'm going to take the 49ers to win. And I don't really think this is going to be close. I do think that the Broncos will get things figured out sooner rather than later, but I think they're going to have to deal with these growing pains, and it's not going to be a nice experience for those fans through the first couple of weeks with a season that had so much optimism and a competitive division where, 1 and 2 start. Does that do you really out of it? In the AFC, which is clearly loaded with young stars on great teams, I think the Broncos have got maybe a window of 2 or 3 years, really.
Yeah.
Whereas a team like obviously the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Bills, all those Ravens, if Lamar stays, the Ravens are all going to be up there for the the next several years to come.
Yep, definitely.
All right then. All right then, let's round this out with Monday Night Football. It's your boy Danny Dimes hosting the Dallas Cowboys at MetLife.
I'm going to take Giants win. I think
3-0 Cowboys. That Cowboys Giants. Imagine that.
Yeah, I think last week was a fluke. They fluked that against the Bengals.
Yeah.
They were, at one point, they were, 14 points down, something like that. And then nearly fell apart, and luckily for the field goal, they won it. I'm going to say Daniel Jones is going to turn up this week. I think the Giants will win. I think they will have Saquon Barkley on fire. They will have their wideouts playing well, the tight end playing well. That defense is good, and it could stop Cooper Rush. Another week for me to lean on Zeke and Tony Pollard and your defense.
Yeah. Now the sorry, on you go.
That's the only reason I'm going with the Giants win. I think Daniel Jones will do the business.
Yeah. I'm going to have to disagree with you here. I think that the Cowboys, Micah Parsons has 4 sacks so far this season. He's been a one-man wrecking crew. Ruined Joe Burrow's day. And I don't think the Cowboys did fluke that. I think they just had a really, really good offensive game plan to deal with the loss of Dak, and the defense just took care of itself. Joe Burrow only had 199 passing yards. I think if, he had a game like, maybe 300 yards that we're maybe accustomed to seeing from Joe Burrow, and the Cowboys won, I think, yeah, maybe you could say that they did fluke it, but, Joe Burrow was not at his best against the Cowboys, and he only had 199 passing yards, like I say, and Daniel Jones hasn't thrown for 200 in either game so far this year. Now, yeah, they've been utilizing Saquon Barkley a little bit more, and that's fair enough. You go with what works. He had 72 yards on 21 carries last week. I think that's good. That's him slowly coming back to his best, hopefully. I think that he could probably have another good game, and I think this actually could be a sneaky good one. but I'm gonna take the Cowboys to win. I think if they can beat that Bengals team with all those stars, I just don't think there's enough players on the Cowboys offense that can worry the Cowboys defense with how good it is. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, not a problem.
So yeah, so we actually did. I don't think we actually had many agreements this week. So we'll see. This could shift the tides in the picks. I'm excited. But that's it from us. We hope you enjoy another fantastic week of football. Check out the End of the Fourth Facebook page, which is End of the Fourth Podcast. You can check us out on Instagram, which is End of the Fourth Pod. We're now on Twitter, End of the Four, the number, End of the Four, TH, Fourth Pod. And check out Let's Talk Sport, which is on Twitter, which is at Let Talk Sport. And you can check out their YouTube channel as well. Although if you're watching this, you're on their YouTube channel. So and ours, which I'm probably going to make that this afternoon. So, but that's it from me. Thank you, Chris, as always.
Perfect, not a problem, mate.
And hopefully we get another good week of football and a good result for Scotland against Ireland on Saturday.
Yes, but I'm working, so I won't see it.
So am I. Right then. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will catch you on the review show. Ciao for now.